Hey! Okay, so this particular silent film is titled The Butcher Boy. It was released in 1917. It was directed and written by Roscoe Arbuckle. He also stars in it. This particular film is the debut for Buster Keaton. It is also the first film for Comique Studios. um, that particular studio is the one that Roscoe Arbuckle founded. Now, the story may sound familiar. Uh, it's one that later, the garage. So, Fatty is the butcher boy in a country store. He's in love with the general manager's daughter, and of course, his rival associate is also in love with her. She's trying to win her affections and everything. Now, when it comes to like the layout of the general store, I absolutely love it because it gives you an idea of what it was like shopping in Edwardian era. I mean, there's like the guys playing checkers or chess next to a stove. But not only that, you get the idea of wrapping things in brown paper. We need to go back to doing that. Very eco-friendly. Oh man, it would be nice. I mean, it really would. I mean, I even remember when things were wrapped in brown paper. There were a few stores that were still doing that when I was a little kid. So when you watch, they have the whole thing where they show placing things in a basket and moving it. In fact, the general manager's daughter, that was her job, was wrapping things in paper, putting it back in the basket, and then the basket going down to the cashier. So, now, there were some things like some of the little tricks that he did. There was one that I found kind of impressive. It makes me wonder how long they worked on it. Roscoe uh, flipped a knife and it embedded itself in the butcher block, and then he also threw a piece of meat and it went onto the hook. It could have been magnetized for all I know, but it looked impressive. And but it's really interesting. Now the thing is that there's a fight, of course, between Roscoe and his rival. Buster gets in on it, and just chaos, massive chaos. I mean, there's flour everywhere. There's pies thrown and broken brooms, and of course, it results in the general manager's daughter, Amanda, ending up in boarding school. And this poor girl, while the other girls at the boarding school are getting letters, she's not. And the principal tells her, "Well, you only get letters from your parents." And I'm thinking, don't they write her? Make sure, I mean, it's just and and then you see somebody outside the gate. And I'm like, "Oh, oh." Because this is one of those movies that has Luke the dog. If you remember, Luke the dog shows up in a lot of Buster and Fatty movies. And so you see this person dressed in this fur-lined coat, and of course the ringlets and everything. And then Luke the dog shows up, and it's Roscoe. Roscoe masquerades as Amanda's cousin. And the girls welcome Roscoe and everything. I mean, they're the principal not so much, but she's tough. She's a tough cookie. So, but the girls are just, now the funniest part is that the rival, and I believe his name is Slim, but he also dresses like a girl and shows up. His intent is to kidnap Amanda. Oh, good heavens. Just, and, yeah. So, it's, but, so, now here's the thing with Luke the dog. You see more of him. And especially during the kidnapping scene. So, yeah, I was actually, because it seemed like, for as much as they have Luke the dog, like in The Cook, we saw Luke the dog, but not that much. It didn't seem like, it's like, well, why do you have the dog there if you're not going to give him enough, This one, he gets more, and he actually does something. And, so, but now there was one review, and I have to disagree with everything that this person said, because I feel like this person was just uncomfortable all up and down, all around. Because at one point they were basically saying that because, I mean, it was like the movie was fine, and then all of a sudden, because of the women's clothing on a man, the comedy was forced. Absolutely not. The comedy was still fine. In fact, the whole kidnapping sequence was, I was in tears. I mean, it was just hilarious and everything. Nothing about the women's clothing being on a man changed the comedy. But this person had a huge stick up a certain body cavity and decided to try and taint the movie. They were also saying that the slapstick was just, and it's like, the slapstick, you saw quite a bit of it during the whole routine where you saw the obvious rivalry between Slim and Roscoe. And then, of course, when Buster comes in and is causing all kinds of shenanigans, it wasn't. So, I mean, and then they were also saying that the least important cast member was Luke the dog. I'm sorry, but if you're going to go after the dog, you obviously didn't watch the movie. I don't know. There was just so much about this review, and there was only one review that I could find, and I'm reading this review, and I'm like, pardon? There was, I don't know. It was just, there was so much that just didn't make sense to it, so I just think that this person was uncomfortable with something in the movie, or just had a problem with somebody in the movie and wanted, or I don't know. But I don't agree with anything that this person said. Roscoe wearing women's clothing, the gentleman who played Slim wearing women's clothing, did not taint the comedy. Not at all. I mean, I've also seen, to go off track a little bit, I have seen movies where Buster Keaton's wearing female clothing, and it's probably one of his best performances. And so, it's just, I don't know where people get off, but and but anyway, yeah, so there's my 2 cents on that matter. You know, it's just sad that people think that way. So, but again, this is Buster Keaton's film debut. A couple of little points. Roscoe asked him to come and watch the filming, and then he was recruited. So this is also one of the few films where you see Buster Keaton smile. The Cook is another one where they're eating spaghetti. I don't know if I've said that, but I'll say it again. So yeah, this is Buster Keaton's film debut. And yeah, the slapstick, you see it quite a bit with the rivalry between Slim and Roscoe. You also see it during the whole fight routine in the general store. You also see it during the whole kidnapping routine. There's plenty of slapstick. And so there's that. And so, and you know, if you want my personal opinion, the women's clothing does not detract from anything. I mean, these two wore women's clothing in so many of their films, and it did not ruin anything. And I don't know if this was before or after Coney Island, but it was the same year. So, again, this person's review is null and void. So anyway, yeah. This particular film, yeah, this particular film is half an hour long. And again, it is the first film that was released by Comique Studios. That was the studio that Roscoe Arbuckle founded. It is titled The Butcher Boy.